Ohio State, Penn State predictions. Go ahead and pull up my week 9 here. I did bet Ohio State at 16.5. By the time I put the column out, that was not available, so I did not put that. That will not be in my official, record stuff. Thus are the perils of taking some in-season vacation. But let's see here, my scores for this game. First of all, I want to note that Ohio State's passing game really is like that damn good. They have who, in my opinion, is the best running back in the country, and TreVeyon Henderson. I really think TreVeyon Henderson would have started for Ohio State last year if he could have just, not gone to high school for his senior year. I think he's like that good. And so for me, pull this up right here. I have this game 38-17 Buckeyes. That's kind of my best like round number score. My prediction is actually a little bit more narrow than that. It's not really a 21 point prediction. It's like 19.5. But I'm just trying to round the prediction. Right now, Penn State, they've struggled running the football. Their passing game, unless Clifford gets miraculously more healthy, is just unlikely, I think, to matter all that much in this game. Now, Ohio State, it is worth noting, they've kind of gotten healthy defensively since the change of play caller from Kerry Coombs. But think about who they've played since then. Tulsa, which is not good on offense this year. Akron, which is terrible. Rutgers, which has one of the worst offenses in the country. Maryland, which did have a really good offense. However, I went ahead and took Ohio State against Maryland because we know that DeMoss is out for Maryland, and then Jayshon Jones also out for Maryland. So their top two receivers for the Terps were out in that game. And then Indiana, who, look, I love Tom Allen and what his staff does there, but they've been kind of wrecked by injury this year. They can't get healthy, and we knew their offense would be bad. That's why on the Locks Pod, which, by the way, I went 9-1 this week on the Locks Pod, so who saw that coming against the spread? That's exciting. I went ahead and bet the Indiana team total under against Ohio State because of the injuries that they had there in the first half. I do think Ohio State's defense has made a couple tweaks. They are playing a greater variety of coverages now, just from the numbers I can look at and from the clips I've watched of them. But it's hard to just totally change up what you do defensively in the middle of the season. And I've said before, I think if last year was not a COVID season, Ohio State would have made a change at defensive coordinator. But a lot of people got passes for what happened last year during the COVID season. And I think that's probably a fair thing to do because it was a very difficult situation. It was hard to install your stuff. But I just think Ohio State's being hurt by not making a defensive coordinator change following the 2020 season. Penn State, even with Clifford banged up, and I know this sounds crazy after how bad they looked against Illinois, I do think Penn State has an opportunity to challenge Ohio State's defensive backs better than any team Ohio State has faced since Oregon. Now, can they run the ball enough? Will it matter? Does Ohio State get out to a big enough lead to where none of that stuff really matters? Ohio State, playing with the lead makes a whole lot of sense. Penn State's defense is still very strong. I like their back end with Brisker and those guys. But again, think about the past defenses that Penn State has played. And I'm going to talk about this for a lot of Big Ten teams, by the way, this week, because there's a lot of Big Ten teams that are not just not great at throwing the ball. They're just flat out incompetent throwing the football. And then they have Ohio State here, which is so much better throwing the football than I think any other team in the country right now. It's just a different animal. So we have a covariance issue. Shout out to my friend Bill Connolly, who talks about this concept. And I know he didn't invent the concept of covariance, but like, are you good against bad? Does that always translate? If you dominate bad teams, does that always translate to being good against good teams? And a lot of times it does, but not every time. And so tell me which of these teams' passing games are even somewhat of an approximation for what Ohio State can do. Wisconsin in week 1? Ball State? Auburn? Okay, probably the best one they've seen so far. Still not a great throw team. certainly don't push the ball down the field very well. Villanova, okay, pass. Indiana, no, again, Penix hurt. Iowa's one of the worst passing offenses in all of college football. And then Illinois, again, that game went to 9 overtimes and it still hit the Vegas under. I do think that this Penn State defense is good. They're missing some important players up front, including Mustipher, who I think is a pretty big deal. Ohio State's offensive line has been blocking well. They have too many options. CJ Stroud can throw the ball to all quadrants of the field, which is a big deal because it makes you play more honest as a defense. And I think Ohio State's defense is improved enough to where it can get out to a multi-score lead in this game. We'll see if I'm right about that. We'll see, but I'm willing to take that chance. But I don't want to play this game over 17, really. Like, if I had to for a pick 'em, I would take Ohio State anything in the teens. But for my money, I'm not going to play this thing at anything more than 17.